in a forest in the middle of nowhere. There's no Wi-Fi, cell phone service, or any way to communicate with the outside world. There's not much you can do about it.
Ignition. Liftoff of Falcon 9 and Starlink 8.
SpaceX has been launching Starlink satellites into orbit since 2019. It's Elon Musk's ambitious project to provide high-speed internet anywhere, even to the most remote locations in the world. The goal is to connect the planet by delivering internet to places where it's unreliable, expensive, or just not available. But Starlink is also being created for another reason. There's a bigger purpose behind it. So how exactly does Starlink work? SpaceX is using its Falcon 9 rocket to launch about 60 Starlink satellites at a time. The satellites are stacked on top of each other.
Those Starlink satellites are separating from second stage right in front of you right now.
The satellites are placed at a relatively low altitude in space because the closer you are to Earth, the lower the latency. Latency refers to how much time it takes for a signal to travel to its destination and back. So low latency gives you a higher internet speed. Starlink speed will be good enough for competitive gaming. It's targeting a latency of less than 20 milliseconds. That's faster than cable internet and comparable to what you'd get with fiber optic broadband. 1,000 satellites will be enough for basic service, but SpaceX wants to get 12,000 of these satellites into orbit. As of June 13, 2020, SpaceX has launched 540. The company has actually applied for permission to launch up to 42,000 satellites, although it's not guaranteed that they'll actually launch that many. Why so many? Because the satellites are so much closer to Earth, they cannot be stationary. They have to move faster to maintain their orbit. They'll cover a smaller area, so more satellites are required for internet coverage everywhere. What SpaceX is trying to achieve is unprecedented. Only about 9,000 satellites have ever been launched in all of history. Out of those 9,000, about 5,000 are in orbit and less than half are actually in use. In comparison, Starlink will be a ridiculously large satellite constellation. But with that comes concerns. Scientists are worried about light pollution because of how much closer the satellites are to Earth. They are bright enough to see without a telescope. SpaceX has been trying to address the issue. The latest batch it launched had a sunshade that can block reflections of sunlight off the antenna. Starlink is controlled on Earth with a device about the size of a pizza box. The terminal will look like a round UFO on a stick, and it'll be easy to use. There are 2 instructions: plug in socket, point at sky. But it's not so simple for those who live in countries where the internet is censored. One of the most famous examples is the Great Firewall of China, where Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and YouTube's owner Google are all banned. Starlink's internet access cannot be controlled by national governments because it does not rely on domestic communications infrastructure. But a government that censors the internet will probably ban the Starlink device. Like most things that are banned, it will be impossible to confiscate them all. But countries can also try to jam the satellite signals or take it one step further. Elon once said this about what China could do.
If they get upset with us, they can blow our satellites up, which would be good. China can do that. So probably we shouldn't broadcast there.